All right. Hey. All right. I have figured out the technology. I am live here both on Instagram and on YouTube with another reading from the Tao Te Ching. As you know, if you've seen this before, I read from the original and then I also read from the updated version, which is by William Martin. It is called Parents. The new interpretation for modern day parents with the ancient advice. So I will read this one first, and then I read this one, and then I will share some insights based on my experiences, my clients, and hoping to help you and your family. So first reading, chapter 20 or poem 20. Give up knowledge and your problems will be over. What is the difference between yes and no? What is the difference between good and evil? Should you fear what others fear? Nonsense. Look how far you've missed the mark. Other people are happy as if they were at a spring party. Only I am carefree and expressionless, like a baby before I learn to smile. Others have more than they need. I just don't seem to own anything. I'm lost and drifting aimlessly. I'm like a fool. My mind is in chaos. Ordinary people are brilliant. Only I am dark. Ordinary people are smart. Only I am boring. Ordinary people seem demanding. Only I am muddled and confused. I drift on the ocean waves at the mercy of the wind. Other people have their goals. Only I am boring and rude. I am different from ordinary people. I suckle the breast of the great mother. Okay, so take what you will from that. This is why I love reading from this one because it really does give us a more down to earth and practical insight on how to interpret the Tao Te Ching for parents today in this day and age. So let me read this one. It is the title of this poem is Be a Model of Honesty. If you want to become a wise parent, you must be prepared to appear foolish. You must be willing to say, why should I chase this way and that, always grasping, always running? Nuts. Unless you stop following the crowd, how can your children be free? To teach your children strength, you must be willing to appear weak. You must renounce ambition and struggle and embrace serenity and peace. You must confess your faults and embrace your failures. You must face yourself with honesty and find the truth of your nature. Ooh, okay. So this obviously reads a little bit easier. I'm going to read William's insights and then, of course, share my own. Your children need a model of honesty. If you pretend to have no weaknesses and cover them up under masks and facades, your children will learn to do the same and the game will go on. Begin today to see and accept the real you beneath the role. Okay, so much to say about this, but there's this idea about being, whether parents want to admit it or not, of being a perfect parent or perfecting parenting. And that is, even if we don't admit that's true, somewhere inside we're kind of like, we have to get this right. We have to do the right thing. We have to do a good job, which I get, because obviously you want to raise your kids in a certain way and do the best job as you can possible. However, if we pretend like we do know it all, that we got this all figured out, and our kids need to come to us for answers, and we need to go find those answers to make sure we can answer our children. If we have that kind of energy around it, it's going to blow up in our face for a couple of reasons. One, because the game will continue on as the poem indicates, but also it's very tiring to do that. It is so tiring and exhausting to do that. So my invitation for parents is to, and we do this in in coaching and of course in connected parenting, just be real with what is so. Kids prefer the real us versus a perfect us. And this can show up in something as simple as you mess up. Okay, you have a failure. Let's say you yell, or you said something that you didn't actually mean, or you thought you directed your child in a certain way, and now you're kind of like rethinking that. The One of the biggest and most powerful things you could do as a parent is repair, acknowledge what you did and said, and say, you know what, I thought about it, and I want to redo, and I want to repair with you, because what I said or what I did or what I thought of isn't how I'd like to parent. So there's always ways to bounce back, okay, which is a powerful tool for our kids to learn, how to bounce back. And they learn it from us, right? Because they learn more from what we do, not just from what we say. So how we model and how we show up, that is important. Um, so I really, this might hit a couple of chords with parents who think that they need to appear as the all-knowing strength for their kids. And I do get that, of course, you want to lead, you want to be a confident leader as best as you can. Um, and it doesn't mean you're a know-it-all, and you don't want your kids to think that you do know everything. Because isn't it annoying when our kids think that they know everything? The reality is we don't know everything. We know what we know, and then there's things that we know that we don't know, and then there's this whole other realm of things that we don't even know that we don't know. Okay, so the reality is we are still learning human beings, and if we are honest enough with our kids to be an example of a work in progress and be good with that, that's really powerful. So, what I mean by work in progress is that we're always learning, we're always have an opportunity to evolve ourselves, our parenting, our families. And that's only possible if you're really honest with yourself and live up to the mistakes and own them, take responsibility for them, and really do your best to keep it real. Um, the other part that I think is really neat in this poem is, um, this idea of stop following the crowd and allowing your children to be free. And that is easier said than done. I get, because kids want to belong, they want to do things that their friends are doing, or neighbors are doing, their cousins are doing. You may want to do that as well, which I again understand. And taking a step back, pausing, and deciding what makes the most sense for me and my family right now. I was just on my weekly coaching call earlier today, and we were talking about um, what I now call Piggy Island today, thanks to a neighbor of mine, but what I used to call staycation days, where we would literally have a day of just doing nothing and slowing down and allowing ourselves some downtime that is often not the norm in today's society. So, this is an encouraging message for you to take moments to slow down. It may not be a whole day, maybe it's just a couple of minutes, maybe it's half of a day, to really slow down. And I invite you to think about where you think you need to be perfect in parenting, because parenting is not about perfection. It truly is about progress, which is something I talk about in my Empower Your Parenting online course, and how to help you heal and move through and break through generational cycles that are no longer serving you and your family. So, how can you show up in the way that you really want your kids to show up in life? And when we see parenting through that lens, it really helps us to be humble, to be kind, to be compassionate, and still also be confident for how we'd like to think things to go in our family. Hope that was helpful. I will see you next time. Have a great one. Bye for now.